Hello everybody, welcome back to Roll Paper. I was hoping to have done a little operating session this week using my GP38 to finish off what I started with the video with the SD40 a couple of weeks ago. But this week I've been incredibly busy at work. I've got my own business as well. That's also been incredibly busy, so I've been really tight on time to get anything done. So I thought there was a couple of questions on my previous videos about the layout itself. So I thought I'd do a quick layout tour. Quick being the operative word. It's 8 foot 10 inches long by, at its widest point, 14 inches wide. So there's not a huge amount of touring to do. But I just thought I'd give a bit of an overview of what it is and how it works and why it exists. It started out with just this board, which was going to be a 4 foot by 10 inch board that was going to be basically a shunting puzzle, Inglenook style shunting puzzle that I could pop out, pop on the table, operate, and then pop away again once I'd finished. I don't, at the moment, I'm waiting to build a workshop at the top of my garden, so I haven't got room for a proper full-time layout. So I thought that would just give me a bit of time to do a bit of operations. And then I decided that I could perhaps fit more, certainly in the room, on the table than just the 4 foot. So I then added a second board. It was originally just going to have 1 point, but I added a second board, making it 8 foot long, and decided that I could then have 2 points, which was better. I then started trying to decide how it was going to be, or what it was going to be, how it was going to operate, and what it was going to be. The original plan back in history was it was going to be an ironstone, Northamptonshire in the UK. Ironstone works based on the ironworks at Corby, just down the road from me. But then we moved into modelling US, and I'm technically modelling the Morristown-Leary Railway. So then I thought, well, I'll do something obviously based on that. I've got locomotives and quite a lot of stock that operated on that line. But I'd only got this 10 inch wide board that I'd limited myself to. And that, because of the stock and the locomotives that I've got for the Morristown-Leary, that's kind of my ongoing project. That's I've got plans for a big layout or a bigger layout once I've got my my space at the top of the garden. So, and I really want to do that justice. I really want to. I'm sure a lot of people are aware of Boomer Diorama's channel. I don't think I'm going to achieve that, but that's kind of the level I want to be aiming for. I want to be doing real justice to that. And on this little board, I didn't think I was going to achieve that. I looked at a couple of the businesses along the line, and I just wasn't happy that it was going to be what I wanted it to be. Then I discovered paper mills, and in particular the Port Huron branch in Michigan, which had two, and this one is based on the Domtar mill. And I realised that was going to be real variety in traffic: box cars, tank cars, covered hoppers, and that plant was a really interesting place in itself. And I'm going to do a separate video on that because the buildings that I've got are based on that, and I'll probably do a video covering the process I went through to design these buildings and place them where they are. So that's where I was, and then all three sidings, these two sidings were much closer together on the original 10 inch wide board, as was this one. Obviously was a lot closer. It was quite cramped. And the end of the sidings ran to the end of the board, and I had a bit of a discussion with the Twitter Model Railway group about it, and I followed a suggestion on there that I kind of had half in mind anyway, which was to add a 10 inch extension to the end of the board at this end, just as a bit of initially empty space, just to give a better feeling of space. And it made such a massive difference. The only minor thing being that it It was 10 inches, excuse the wobble whilst I just moved quickly. It was 10 inches long, which then made the board too long to fit on the table where it was intended to be. Not that the table's 10 foot long, but not the table's 8 foot long, sorry. But that being that extra 10 inches, 8 foot 10 long now when it's all set up, and it wouldn't sensibly fit on the table without risking, well, I couldn't get around the room with it on there. So it's really opened up the space. I have slightly lengthened this siding just to give it a little bit of extra, I suppose variety is the word, or interest, make it a little longer than the two sidings at the back. But this end space has really made it feel a lot more spacious. And obviously I then added 4 inches to the front of the board, and this front siding then moved out a bit, and I was then able to separate the two rear sidings as well a little further, which has made such a massive difference, and I'm really, really pleased I did it. Probably now would have been happier doing one of the Morris O'Leary prototype industries, but I'm really happy with how this is turning out. I've now bought my Lake State Railway MP15, which worked the prototype branch. I've got that to, if I want to do sort of a little bit more prototypical, to run that, but I'm running all sorts of locos on it anyway. It's based on not a model of. So yeah, that's how that's come about. You may have noticed in the video that there's I'll just move this down. This is in my dining room at the moment. It's along one wall of the dining room. It takes apart in the middle, goes back together again. So when it's not in use, or when I'm not going to be running for a while, I just take it down, pop it back up when it's in use again. I'm in the process of making some legs for it, but at the moment, and you may have seen on the other video, it's a bit embarrassing, but I'm going to show you anyway. It's currently standing on the back of a chair, or 2 chairs, which is actually less precarious than it looks, because I've run some boards longitudinal along the length of it, so it's actually supported by 2 long boards, so it's not balancing. It is pretty solid. It's been up now for about 3 weeks and hasn't moved, so that's all right. But it's quite good. The chairs are a bit higher than the legs I was really building for it, and this is a really nice height to work at, so I'm going to redo the legs to match the height of the board. It's all right staying in the dining room at the moment, because this room we're hoping to knock a wall down and convert this into the kitchen. So it's one of the house is another project that's on the go at the moment. This room hasn't been done yet, so it's all right sitting just here. I can get away with it for the minute. And just whilst I'm at this end of the layout, excuse a bit more wobble, got here, and excuse the mess as well, got these drawers, which are my stock storage drawers. I can fit 9 cars in each drawer. I think I've foam lined them, and then I've got foam between each wagon, so they all fit in there, and I can pop them out, pop them on the layout, and then when the layout folds down, it packs up and it fits in the gap here. Obviously the chair's not here when that's there. It fits there, so it all stacks away out the way in the corner of the room there. So that's how that's working. And as I say, it's got a joint in the middle. Obviously laid the track, and then excuse the wobble again. I laid the track and then soldered these rather inelegant PCB at the end and cut the track. It's worked really well. Let's say it's been up and down numerous times since I did it, and I've had no issues setting it up or taking it down. So it's worked really well. It looks a bit ungainly, but it's pretty good. So yeah, that's where we're at. Obviously an awful lot of work still to do. I've got my little, at the end, beyond the blue board at the end there, you can just see sticking out, is my fiddly yard, which is currently 10 inches long, which isn't really much for switching out. But when I've been doing my videos, I've just been running trains down between the mock-up building at the front and the almost finished building at the back, and then just moving the cars from there. So that does for me at the moment. I did Joe Parker from the Pixel Depot, or Pixel Depot if you're in the UK, saw one of my videos, and he commented and he said, why have you got your unloaded bays next to this switch? And that was a very valid point. The building at the end is almost finished. The building at the other end that I just was focused on is almost finished, with its little bridge over the top to the front building, which is barely started, to hide the fiddle yard. They're almost done. This is the plasticard carcass, and I've got to decide what I'm doing with this. They're all based on the prototype building, and there's certain features I really wanted to capture, but with my track how it is, it doesn't really work just here, and I'm still undecided whether to just go with it and it is what it is, or change this around. These doors won't be in use. They're going to be modelled as out of use. I can't decide whether to brick them or just have them closed. I think I might. They're on the prototype, they're just closed, and then I don't think on the prototype they were used towards the end of the plant being used. So I can live with that. It's whether I can live with it being so close to this switch. So that's a decision I need to make. Part of the reason it's so squished is there's a bridge that rolls back on the prototype, which I want to install just here. It's one of the features I really want to include, and that obviously limits what I can do with the buildings at the back here to the buildings on the front. Again, I'll cover that in another videos, how I came about, where the buildings are, and how I did that. The switches themselves are controlled by DCC Concepts IP digital point motors. With hindsight, I wish I'd just switched them manually, but point motors was one of the things that, like, 30 years since I last had a layout that kind of worked. I had that when I was 18, big layout on the outside of my room at my parents' house just before I went to university, and I haven't had a layout. This is the first layout that works since then, so big milestone for me doing this. And I've always wanted to have proper point motors controlling the points, so I put them in, and they're a little bit much on this such a small layout, but we are where we are. They're there. This was always going to be a test piece for me to practice various techniques before I start my main Morristown Leary project once we're up the garden. So kind of I've achieved that, I think. Okay, so that's a quick tour. As I say, there'll be another video covering how I designed the buildings based on the prototype and how I built them themselves at some point in the future, and hopefully I'll get time to finish my operations at some point in the next week or so. I actually got a new little 16,000 gallon tank car here. I just can't stop buying the blasted things. I've got loads of them. Not sure what it's going to carry or even if it's going to work on this layout, but there you go. That turned up the other day. Okay, thanks very much. I'll hopefully, as I say, have time to do some more productive work in the next week or so. You'll see that progress is very, very slow, but we're getting there slowly. Okay, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.